what's up, guys? So, like I was saying, I mean, there's different upsides and downsides to, like, no matter which method you choose. So, I mean, with pills, the main downside with pills is that it is going to come into contact with your liver. I mean, I don't think there's any way of getting around it. You can limit it. You can lessen the amount of contact that it has with your liver by doing it sublingually, by putting the pills underneath your tongue and letting them dissolve that way. No, like more effectively go directly into your bloodstream. But as I've said, I'm not a doctor, but I personally am skeptical of whether or not all of that stuff is not being digested, like as you're swallowing. So, anyways, another thing to keep in mind with pills versus patches versus needles versus the gel is that the pills and the gel, like obviously because you are taking it throughout the day, you're going to have spikes. So like if you take your estradiol 2 or 3 times a day, you're going to have a spike and you take it in the morning and then another spike when you take it in the afternoon. Same thing with the gel, or if you're taking estradiol 3 times a day and you're splitting it up every 8 hours or whatever, you're going to have a spike each time you take it, versus the patches where you change your patch once a week, and the injections you do an injection once a week, and you're getting a sustained dose of estrogen, assuming with the patches at least that you can get them to stay on. Another thing I forgot to mention with the patches, not only does it leave glue marks on your clothes, but it also leaves glue marks on your skin. And the glue that it leaves behind is extremely difficult to get off your skin unless you know the cheat code, which is as follows. It is vegetable oil. So like if you are ever on the estradiol patches and you get a glue ring on your arm or your butt cheek or wherever you put your patch and you get a glue ring, a little bit of vegetable oil, just rub it on it and that glue ring will come right off. So that's the life hack. I started talking about ordering from online pharmacies, and I did want to briefly address my thoughts on ordering from online pharmacies. So I personally, I think it's not a good idea to be taking any kind of like hormone therapy without being supervised by a doctor, but with the caveat being that if you don't have a choice, like if you can't see a doctor, well, I mean, me personally, I was like desperate as hell. I personally would not judge anybody for just taking them, is all I'm saying. So just stay safe out there. You know, if something seems especially sus, it could be sus. Be careful with your card information, any personal identifying information. You know, I did personally have money stolen at one point, but overall, I did have a very good experience with dealing with the online pharmacies, where you don't need a prescription, that are clandestine, and you know, don't seem like they seem sus, but they will actually send you like real pills. I would also add that the whole time that I was ordering from the online pharmacy, the majority of the time I was taking a very high dose of estradiol, like more than is like a normal dose, as far as I can tell, from what I've researched, as well as progesterone, dutasteride, spironolactone, and the whole time that I was doing it, I was also smoking cigarettes, and yeah, I'm not saying this as like a point of like you should do this and you should feel safe, because I could be an anomaly and this is purely anecdotal, because there's very high risk of blood clots and stuff and whatever. But I'm just saying this to state that the like hormones and stuff are mostly safe health wise. That's not to say that they're perfectly safe and like you can't, you know, nothing bad's gonna happen from taking them, but I'm saying they're mostly safe. I went like for a lot of years doing this, and another caveat being, I will also say that I was like in pretty good shape this whole time. I can run 10 kilometers is pretty normal for me. To go to the gym and spend an entire hour on a treadmill and just run the entire time, or go outside and do a 10K is the normal amount that I run. So I am in pretty good physical shape. I would consider myself in pretty good physical shape to be like taking these medications. So it also depends on like, you know, what kind of condition you are in physically. All that stuff is like all stuff you got to consider. Another thing that you should consider is if you're taking medications and you're not being monitored by a doctor, is that if you take too much estradiol, estradiol, if there's too much estradiol in your system, more than your body can use, your body can actually take that estradiol and convert it back into testosterone, which like is counterproductive to your goals. And also, it's just like a waste of medication, and you know you're putting all this stuff in your body that doesn't even need to be there for no reason, and it's probably not good for you. Is all I'm saying. So anyways, when I was dealing with the online pharmacy, I tried the gel at first. I didn't take it as directed or anything when I first started taking it, so like I don't really want to speak on it too much. I will address I'm gonna probably do one more video talking about like a recap of everything, and I'll address like the benefits and like the negatives. But yeah, so I've mostly stayed on the pills while I was self-medicating that whole time. So fast forward to like I guess it was November of 2022, and I couldn't afford them anymore to just like order them to pay for them out of pocket. It's like losing hours at work, and then by February I'd actually lost my job, and I was like had been off them for like 3 months. So I ended up getting insurance after losing my job. So that was one nice thing about like ending up like getting on, you know, the public assistance and whatever briefly while I was on it. They set me up with health insurance and everything. So I was able to get set back up with a doctor, and she set me up with, because I was still smoking at the time, and she set me up with the estradiol patches. And there was like updated information, so like you can put the patch, you can put the patch anywhere in your body as long as you're not putting it on your chest. So like put it on your arm if you're on the patch, is what I would recommend. There's like a little spot, like if you flex your muscle, there's like a broad spot here where like even if you move your arm, that one spot of muscle like doesn't move. That's where I'd recommend to put it. Like there's like a little spot like right here on the back that does not move no matter like where, because like if it's in a spot where your skin's moving all the time, like that's when it's going to come unrolled. That's what I would recommend anyways. And as an additional measure, I would recommend, like, I used an old sock and I just tied it into like a band, and I put it on my arm when I was going to bed, or if I was going to the gym or going outside to get some exercise and run. So yeah, that's how I managed to get it to stay on. So I kind of went off there for a minute. I'm probably going to come back and I'll talk about the injections in the next video, because I feel like I've said everything that I wanted to say about you know, the pills and the patches and the online pharmacies and everything. So I feel like I've said everything I want to say there, and I will be back in another video and I'll talk about the injections, and we'll do a little recap about like the pros and cons of each method, and what I think is the worst and what I think is the best and why I think that. So all right, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.